Hello, wealth tycoons. What if we tell you that there is a secret Chinese company that owns everything, and the fun part is, no one knows much about this company? The company goes by the name Tencent. Haven't heard before? When you will hear about things this company has done, you won't believe it. Stay with us till the end of the video to find out everything. So let's get started. Tencent began as a small business that didn't get much attention. At one point, they had just under $1,500 in the bank. It's hard to believe, right? Tencent is now the 10th biggest company in the world, worth an amazing $1.6 trillion. These people own Riot Games, which is the company behind League of Legends. They also have shares in Epic Games, Ubisoft, Discord, Reddit, and even Tesla. They have grown into a huge giant, especially in the game and internet industries. The catch is that most people have never even heard of Tencent, even though they are very big. They look like a huge figure in the dark. How did they grow so quickly and without making a sound? And why don't people know them like Google or Facebook? Well, it's not clear how they got to be so powerful. Tencent did not follow the rules. They twisted and sometimes broke the rules by taking advantage of legal loopholes, working together with the Chinese government, and harassing rivals. Because they are linked to the CCP, they can be used to spy on and control people around the world. Tencent is not just any company. It's an important part of China's world strategy that helps them gain more power and control. Tencent is now being seen as a threat by governments around the world, and many are trying to limit their power. Tencent has already become a part of the tech economy, though. People often say that they are one of the most dangerous companies in the world because of this. It wasn't always like this, though. In 1998, Tencent was just a small business. They quickly put out OICQ, an instant messaging service, after seeing how famous other foreign messaging apps were getting. It was their first big product, to make a version that is just right for the Chinese market. Tencent's shady side comes out right away, though. They didn't come up with the best name. Instead, they pretty much copied the name of a popular chat app called ICQ and added an O to the beginning to make it OICQ. And guess what? It worked. At first, only 500 people used the app, but every day that number grew by leaps and bounds. Some troubles came up, though, when things went well quickly. It cost a lot to build the infrastructure that all those people needed, and the company was very close to going out of business. When they were sued for stealing the name, things got worse. But Tencent had something else planned. They got through those rough early years with help from venture capital firms and the CCP, but they had to change the name of the app to QQ in the end. This early money put into Tencent turned out to be some of the most valuable ever. Just 1 year, QQ had 1 million users. The next year, it had 50 million. Tencent had quickly taken over China's instant chat market and was the leader in the field. The founders didn't want to just be big in China, though. They wanted more. They wanted to fight with the big tech companies in Silicon Valley and make China the center of a tech revolution. They don't just buy shares in foreign companies, though. WeChat is the name of Tencent's mobile app for their QQ platform that came out in 2011. This app became very famous very quickly. It now has over 1 billion active users. But WeChat was more than just a chat app. It turned into a hub for many Chinese apps, and they even added WeChat Pay as a way to pay. Tencent got a cut of every deal that went through WeChat. By 2015, they were making more than $3 billion from it. Crazy, right? You might think this is just a tech company making a lot of money, but there is more to it than that. The Chinese government was very interested in how Tencent did business. Tencent employees even have a holiday that is just for thanking the government. The close ties between Tencent and the CCP are shown by this kind of connection. Some might even say that the government uses firms like Tencent as weapons to increase their power around the world and censor people. Tencent's growth has been helped by the CCP from the start. As a reward for giving them more power, they helped it become a monopoly and gave its leaders huge bonuses. It may look like Tencent is a private company, but it's really just another part of the Chinese government. It's not just Tencent either. There are other big Chinese companies that have been affected by the CCP. These include Huawei, Alibaba, and ByteDance, which is the parent company of TikTok. Companies and their founders often face real consequences, either going to prison or just disappearing, if they don't do what the party wants. The government chose to get more involved when Tencent had about 6,000 Communist Party of China members. They didn't just stand there and watch. They set up their own group right inside Tencent's leadership. This was a big deal because it let the government watch over everything Tencent did, especially with popular Chinese apps like Kiku and WeChat. In China, it was not just about keeping an eye on the company, it was also about running the internet. Each message that went through these apps had to go through a set of checks. There were algorithms that looked for certain words and devices that watched for things the government didn't like. Some words would be totally blocked, and others might set off an alarm that the sender could be watched or even jailed for saying something the government didn't like. Not only words, but also every picture you sent would be read. It was flagged or taken down if it looked like a banned picture. The CCP could censor almost all public talks in China through these apps. It would not be allowed for anything to say bad things about the government or go against their principles. Censorship wasn't the only worry, though. The CCP could see a huge amount of private information because these apps were in charge of so many parts of people's lives, like making payments, seeing where people were, and even listening in on their conversations. This information was used to make China's well-known social credit scheme work. Imagine that everyone and everything you do is being watched. You get a score for everything you do, everything you buy, and everyone you hang out with. This number tells the government how trustworthy you are as a citizen. It can have a big effect on your life. Ready to get on a train or buy a house? For sure, that would rely on how good your credit is. This is where privacy issues in the internet world come in. It's very important to keep yourself safe with all this info control going on. That's when something like Guardio comes in handy. As a shield, Guardio is an add-on for your browser that stops online threats before they even reach your device. Other tools only fix problems after they've already attacked your computer. Guardio, on the other hand, stops the problem before it can do any damage. If someone clicks on a bad link by chance and gets a virus, this will save their life. You can even use Guardio to do a free 30-second security check on your computer to see if there are any threats. You can try their real-time safety for free for 7 days after you sign up, so you'll be safe going forward. Guardio doesn't stop there either. It keeps track of who you are on different sites. That means you'll know right away if your data is leaked, so you can fix the problem before it gets worse. Since more than 1 million people already trust Guardio, they must be doing something right. Oh, and if you're still interested, they have a deal where you can get 20% off their monthly plan. Taking steps to protect your privacy online is a good idea. If you made it here, trust me, you will also enjoy the rest of this business video. If you like the efforts we put into our videos, please tell us by liking and sharing this video with your like-minded friends. And subscribing to the channel will be like a tip to us. Moving on to the year 2019, at a famous video game event called Hearthstone, a guy spoke out in support of Hong Kong's freedom fighters. Now, Tencent owns a piece of Blizzard, the business that makes Hearthstone. Blizzard quickly banned this person and took away his prize. Everyone was very upset about this, but Blizzard didn't change their minds. They likely didn't want to upset Tencent, and by extension, the Chinese government. Tencent worked with the NBA as well. What did the boss of the Houston Rockets say in a tweet in support of Hong Kong? In response, Tencent wouldn't show any NBA games in China. The boss and the NBA didn't stand their ground. Instead, they said sorry to China. It wasn't just one time either. As Tencent has grown more daring, they have not only silenced individuals but also added censorship to many of their sites. In 2019, Candidates for Freedom won in Hong Kong. This caused people in the US to start talking about it on WeChat. You could be banned, though, if you said anything good about Hong Kong. In China, people were used to this amount of control. Now it's spreading to other places like the US. Tencent's move to buy parts of social media companies is one of the creepiest things about it. They put $150 million into Reddit a few years ago. It scared people. But why? Since Reddit users are known for being able to post whatever they want, Tencent's participation seemed like it could hurt that. Tencent didn't do anything right away, but Reddit has been accused of taking down posts about sensitive Chinese topics since then. Random event? Perhaps not. The really bad news is that Tencent also has a bad history of protecting customer data. They got a score of 0 out of 100 from Amnesty International for how they handled personal information. People began to wonder where their data would go after they invested in Reddit. This business is not just any player, though. It makes a big difference in the tech world. Their bets are worth more than 10% of what Reddit is worth. But Reddit is only the beginning. Let us look at Discord as an example. Tencent, one of China's biggest tech companies, has been a big part of making and supporting Discord from the very beginning. They kept putting more and more money into it over time. It's not just about money, though. Tencent gets a lot of help from the Chinese government, which leads to this circle of control. Tencent gains more power over platforms like Discord as they put more money into them. Why does this matter? Discord is more than just a chat room. It's where people from all over the world talk to each other. Because Tencent and by extension, the Chinese government run this kind of site, they can see everything. Every message and exchange is part of a bigger plan. You might think this is only about Discord or Reddit, but it's more than that. Tencent gets a lot of information about Western users from these sites. Also, guess what? And if Tencent can see this information, then the Chinese government can too. This is not just a random purchase to make money, it's a move to take control. It's part of China's bigger plan to control people around the world. Because social media is so powerful, just think about it. What happens online can make or break an entire election campaign. What people read, see, and talk about on sites like Reddit and Discord shapes their views. China can control or even slightly change public opinion on these platforms, and no one will even know it. On the other hand, China keeps itself safe by blocking most Western social networks. Websites like Google, YouTube, and Facebook are either blocked totally or slowed down so much that they can't be used. This is called the Great Firewall of China. So while they're gathering information and controlling talks outside of China, they've set up a system that stops anyone from outside the country from getting involved in their own affairs. Tencent bought up other companies and used its power to get involved in Western affairs. It made a big move when it joined forces with ByteDance, the company that made TikTok. If you don't already know, TikTok is a very famous app that has won over a lot of people, especially young people from Generation Z. It's been great for the Chinese government because they can get information from about 1.5 billion people. People are not sure what TikTok really means when it says it doesn't share information with the Chinese government. Users of the app agree to let ByteDance share data, and ByteDance has a close connection to the Chinese Communist Party, CCP. It grew while the government kept a close eye on it, just like Tencent. In 2020, the Trump administration saw all of this and tried to shut down TikTok. Because Tencent and ByteDance have so much power, the FBI started to look into them. This was the second part of China's plan for tech. Let's talk about the third part, which is Huawei. It's a huge tech company that's been making roads and bridges all over the world. Cellular networks and other tech systems can't work without its gear. Things get tricky here. Huawei gives us the hardware and infrastructure, and Tencent gives us the software through its funding and apps. So the CCP has a direct link to billions of machines and networks around the world. In other words, China knows a lot about many parts of life in the West. That's not the end of the story, though. Many countries are now aware of how dangerous this tech alliance is. As technology made in China starts to show up near cell towers and 5G masts, privacy concerns become more important. It is hard to just swap out the parts because Huawei's technology is so deeply rooted in networks that taking it out could cause everything to fail. The UK had to do something when the US said Huawei was a security risk. They chose to stop using Huawei gear by 2027. But Huawei says it needs more time to do this, which makes people wonder what the real reason is for the delay. This whole thing is part of a bigger plan, which is sometimes called Cold War 2.0. Through these tech companies, China is growing its power and impact. The CCP has a strong foothold now that Huawei, ByteDance, and Tencent are doing business around the world. This gives them the power to influence Western society and spy on other countries. So the first signs of trouble didn't come from strange places or enemies from other countries. No, the first signs came from the Chinese Communist Party, or CCP. As the world still dealt with COVID-19 in 2021, the CCP began to tighten its control over tech companies. It was like Tencent and other big companies were caught in a storm when they weren't ready for the heavy rain. The CCP fined Tencent and other tech giants a total of $3.25 billion in heavy fines. It was confusing for buyers when Tencent's stock dropped so sharply after that. It was now against the rules to do the things that helped Tencent become dominant. It was like seeing a superhero lose all of their skills in one night. Things didn't get better for Tencent after that, though. Some of China's biggest tech entrepreneurs, who used to be famous, suddenly disappeared. This was a shocking turn of events. One of them was Jack Ma, who started Alibaba. He went away for years after speaking out against the government, but he just recently came back in a new light. What a surprise. Hey, if you want us to cover any business story of your choice, all you have to do is leave it in the comment section below. Trust me, I will pick your comment and we will create a video around your suggested topic. Tencent was in a tough spot as the CCP kept cracking down. They were on top of the world at the start of 2022, with a value close to $1 trillion. But when the government said there would be more rules, the prices of their stocks fell sharply. Tencent lost a huge $650 billion in a very short amount of time, making it worth only about $300 billion. That's like seeing a rock fall apart. But why was this taking place? The economy of China was like a house of cards that was falling apart. Costs went up, the economic bubble burst, and there was a controversial policy called Zero COVID that caused huge lockdowns. These lockdowns made things harder for everyone and made people even more unhappy. China went through a lot of riots as anger grew. People were demanding change in the streets, and it was hard for the government to keep things under control. It was hard for Tencent to keep things under control in all the chaos. The CCP wanted more control on their platforms because they thought people were telling too much of the truth about what was going on. The CCP was never happy, though. They thought Tencent was not controlling the story well enough, which made things worse for the business. The government's losing faith in Tencent was a big reason why the value of the company dropped so sharply. A well-known trick had simple steps that worked. People would hold up blank signs. This helped them say what they were thinking without words. Bots and devices that Tencent had set up to police social media couldn't figure out what the signs were trying to say, but everyone else did. Also, people started sending texts that were not very clear about what they meant. This way, they could show their support without being caught by Tencent's technology. Smart people in China liked this a lot, but Tencent and the Chinese government didn't like it as much. Tencent started to worry about how to get back in charge as these methods spread. It was going to be hard for them, and the future didn't look bright. Tencent was not the only tech company having trouble, though. The FBI recently said some strong things about TikTok, which is another app owned by a Chinese company. They were worried about how the Chinese government was in charge of TikTok's suggestion systems. This made people all over the world nervous, and soon many countries, including those in Europe, started to cut Huawei, another company with ties to China, from their networks. Even the US government has banned Huawei. It looked like Tencent was about to be the next company to get in trouble. However, the issue of Chinese technology in the West would not go away right away. Tencent had big shares in a lot of big Western companies, which made them an important part of the Western economy. Even though the US government was worried, TikTok's popularity kept growing and its income kept going up, showing how powerful it is. Huawei's technology would be used in infrastructure around the world for years to come, even if countries tried to cut ties with each other quickly. Even though everyone knew China was a threat, the damage had already been done. It might take years or even decades to get rid of Tencent, Huawei, and TikTok from the tech world. Since you liked watching this video, you will like watching Masayoshi Son's story of success on our channel. You can find the link to the video upwards somewhere on the screen. Click on it and get going. Did you know about Tencent before? What are your views about this company? Share with us in the comment section below. If you enjoyed watching the video, do not forget to like, share, and subscribe to the channel.